All right, fine. I'll be a gracious host. How you doing?
Little Mermaid is the scariest Disney movie by far, though.
Why the hell is Ace Blade in your Kickstarter?
Some comics. I'm getting controversial today. We're gonna get controversial today with
my proudest moment is this interview and being able to talk to you two.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Taurus Comics in collaboration with Fourth Wall Productions respectfully brings to you what? What?
I couldn't tell if I was lagging or if you was lagging.
Oh. Well, I can't hear you all of a sudden, so it might
It's
be
me.
you. Okay. Respectfully brings
me.
to you the 123rd episode of the Four Tales Podcast. I'm your host, Kyron Silva, Dan, and together we are your two award-winning Blurred comic creators here to help you find your next favorite comic. We are live on the Age to Geekdom Network via Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. So if you're listening or watching us live, thank you for your support. But don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and review this podcast because all your positive reviews and interactions help us reach a bigger audience. What's up, man?
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you smirking?
What comics you been reading, Kyron?
This week I read the Milestone Compendium Volume 1. That's basically all I've read all week. And it's just brought back so much nostalgia. It reminded me of the things that got me into comics.
Mm-hmm.
Been proofreading Ballad of the Black Rose Volume 2 or Issue 2. So I can start drawing that. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Hey, solid. It's a solid week. I got some.
Why do you look so mad? Why are you so mad looking? Oh, you're frozen.
Can you see these?
Yes and no. You're very pixelated all of a sudden. All right.
Can you see these?
Danny's trying to show something to us, but okay. Oh. I see what you got.
See?
Did you print
Got
that out
some
from your
amazing
computer?
artwork. Yes, I did. They have no back sides yet. They're blank on the back. The back is blank.
Do you want to explain to people what it is you just showed so people know what we're talking about?
Yes. So, we have launched Ace Blade number 8 on Kickstarter, and we are fortunate enough to reach our initial funding on the first day. So we announced our first stretch goal, which is a set of these cards or one of these cards in everybody's physical pledges. So Kyron did some amazing artwork, and with the assistance of an amazing colorer, and I'm going to turn them into some collectible cards, and everybody's going to be able to get one if we get to $5,000.
All right.
So shout out to you and everybody checking on the Kickstarter for sure.
And you said you have to reach 5,000 to get that, right?
That's right.
And right now you're at 3,358, so a little bit less than 1,700 to go. And you got 2 weeks to get there. So, I mean, that's totally doable.
I think so. We're going to be pushing for 2 weeks, and we're gonna do our best and try to come up with some unique ways to get the message out there about the comics.
All right,
for sure.
What is going on with your internet right now, dude?
For sure. Thank you for that, Iron, by the way.
Can you hear me at all?
I don't know what's going on, man. I told you maybe it's the Microsoft thing that happened with CrowdStrike this morning is messing our internet up. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay. I mean, you want to blame it on?
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's all I'm
Paige,
blaming on.
Paige Alfred in the chat says congratulations on the quick start. So
Thanks, Paige, man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
right.
But we got this is the wait a minute. Have we had another creator besides Morgan from North Carolina on the show?
I want to
We've
say
had plenty of people.
Oh,
I want to say yes too.
Daryl Murphy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had Daryl Murphy on. I did the in-person interview with him. He's down in Fayetteville. Wally's been on. Morgan's been on. They're both here in North Carolina. But today we have the illustrious dad / partner / bassist / writer / blurred / badass, a veteran of the U.S. Coast Guard. Our guest is a writer, an editor, a producer, and a Grammy considered songwriter with a compulsion for creativity. He is also a B.E.A.M Award nominee.
And what's his name?
The creator and writer of an amazing comic book that he's going to tell us about. Chuck Cox is in the building. How you doing there, young man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, fellas.
No, it's our pleasure to have you on. I don't know how long Danny's internet's going to be around, so
I don't know either. I think it's my computer, man. I think I might need a new computer because this thing it shut off on me earlier and all kinds of stuff. So
it's been that kind of week. My computer gave it up this week too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I got a lot of stuff on here that I need to back up before that happens. So I needed to last for about 3 more days at least. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Doing all right.
Doing great.
For anyone that's not familiar with you and your work, Chuck, can you give us a brief, synopsis, an overview of who you are, what you do, and what we're talking about today?
My name's Chuck Cox, like you guys said. I am one of the managing partners at Royal House Comics, writer, editor. I play music. I do a couple other things. But we're here tonight to talk about the Band of the Black Fist, which is my first ever solo comic. I had edited a couple others and done some script work and stuff. But this is the first book that I put out on my own.
Okay. Now, in your words, what is Band of the Black Fist? Like, what's your pitch, your elevator pitch on that?
Okay, so it's a fantasy story about the survivors of an elite mercenary troop who have to put aside their grief and their differences to help a bloodline that's being besieged by this monstrous enemy out for revenge. So pretty much I was inspired by, all those fantasy movies that we love, the fantasy stories we love. You get those group of dissimilar people together. They go on a quest. They got to find the dingus and bring it back to somewhere and pitch it into something or do something with it. You know those stories. So I was inspired by that. But it occurred to me that we never ever find out what happens after. What happens after evil is vanquished and all the bad guys have gone home and the survivors are left, in a world a lot of times that maybe doesn't need them anymore. What happens? So I wanted to kind of explore what would happen with a group. The original Band of the Black Fist is 20 people strong. When the story begins, there's only 3 of them left. Everybody died during that big quest, giant battle, where they saved the world. So now we're left with the 3 survivors, and they're kind of just together thinking, what now? War's over. What are we going to do now? And that's where the story begins.
That was going to be my question to you. I was wondering if I know they're the only 3 that are in this story so far. I read the first issue and I was going to ask if you were going to tell us if they all actually died, if the rest of the Band of the Black Fist died, because you have them listed in the comic, but I was hoping that we might be able to meet some of them along the way. Well, I guess we're going to have to catch it in flashbacks.
It'll be in a flashback because they're all toast. They all got murked in that final battle. They didn't make it, including the leader, the charismatic, the one that everybody was there to follow in the first place, didn't make it. So it's just the 3 left, and maybe not the three most powerful or the three most personable, but they're all stuck with each other. They got to work it out and figure out what they're going to do with their lives.
I don't know. DK was getting down. DK is the small one, right?
Yes.
DK was getting busy. I don't know. And then
Yeah.
The
also,
one-armed woman too.
also with the one arm, she was getting busy with the with the what do you call it? With the fencing style, you know?
Yeah. With the fence, she's actually the finest sword in the land. In the story context, she's the greatest swords person in Tarsus. Is the name of the continent. BK is a firecracker, like a one-person army, and Sanishjaro is a war priest. So he's the wise man. But you get on his wrong side, and he'll smash you.
Yeah. Okay. Is the triangle? Is that insignia of the war priest?
Yes, that's his symbol. Yes.
Okay. See, I'm putting it together now.
You figured it out.
No, man, I love stories like that. Like you said, I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan, I guess you would say, but I like stories like that where the group has to come together and throw the ring in the volcano or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I like the take that you took on this, where what happens after that? In the aftermath of the great battle, then what happens next? So I don't want to give away what happens in the first issue of your story, but it seems like they're about to go on another quest.
Yes, they're about to go on another adventure. And part of that is, when you've done something for as long as you can remember, how easy is it to give that up? Even when everything's telling you should probably give it up. How hard is that? It's a difficult thing, turning your back on your one particular skill set. Mm-hmm. So there were questions, they're going to be questions of should we, shouldn't we? But yeah, I'll give you a hint. They're going to do it. They're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I realized, at least reading, is even though like you're mentioning these are sort of a mismatch of characters, they seem to have like a family bond. Especially like in the scene where they're at the tavern just drinking it up, you could feel it had that aura of just a family sitting down to eat with each other. Is that some of the things that you're trying to convey in the story and how they interact with each other?
Yes, the camaraderie that comes with being in a group of people. Sometimes you're facing danger, but a lot of times, you're just traveling together and eating together, drinking together. So there is an element of it, like a little bit of sibling rivalry, a little bit of that thing. But yeah, that was something that I really wanted to convey with that particular scene, because that's really the first time they sit down and almost discuss what's happening. One of them is like, "It's over." Look around. Everybody's gone. It's over.
Yeah.
And then the other,
like they're just trying to figure out like, what do we do?
What do we do? Exactly. What do we do now? Oh, well, hey, here's this guy. He's got another job for you. So let's try that. We know how to do that. We know how to do these jobs. And that'll give us a little bit of time to think about, what we want to do with our lives now that, in this continent too, this grand war has just ended. So everybody's like still celebrating the end of the war. So they're like, yeah, the whole world has changed. They don't really need us. Well, it turns out somebody does need them. Mm-hmm. So they're going to answer the call.
I almost felt bad for that first group that they ran up on in the beginning. There was a panel that stuck out to me where the kind of the leader of that group, he was like, "Oh shoot, we picked on the wrong people." Like,
I know who they are, right? Right.
This was the wrong choice. We should not have picked on these three.
That was the Emerald Guard, wasn't it?
To the legend.
The Emerald Guard, that's right. Yeah.
That was the Emerald Guard, right?
Yes, yeah, the Emerald Guard. And so there's a huge amount of backstory. The Band of the Black Fist actually was born of an attempted novel I wrote in my 20s, which I wrote the quest part of the story, getting the group together, traveling to a distant land to find the magical whatever, and then bringing it back to defeat the Regent Queen. or the evil regent. And part of that was the Emerald Guard were enemies of the Black Fist. So they had a little bit of a thing going already, and the guy was hip to their legend. So I thought that was a neat little part I put in. It was like a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink to 25-year-old me that wrote the novel.
I like it. I like it a lot. So is the novel, is it out? Is the novel out?
No, that's one of those locked away, never to be seen. Excellent premise, not so great in execution. It was, it's been many years, a couple decades since I started writing it.
I was gonna say
I've learned a lot since then. I've learned a lot about writing novels since then. Maybe one day.
I was gonna say I would read it. So one of the reasons that me and Morgan we put novels out for our characters, Ace Blade and Lumberjacks both have novels, is because I know how long it takes to make a comic book now. Like it takes some time to make comics, and we always wanted to have, if you want more Ace Blade stories, hey, they're in the novel. They're in the novel. We got them in the podcast. We got all kinds of other stories that you can read, but these comics are going to take some time to come out.
Right.
So what if anything have you put in place to kind of keep the appetite wet for folks? When is the next, or are you planning on releasing issue 2 pretty soon?
Issue 2 is not going to be as soon as I would have hoped. I'm trying to find a new artist now. I lost my artist for issue 1. Not sure how or why, but the dude went ghost. It's been over a year. There's some other people that were working with him that I've talked to, and nobody knows what happened to him. Just hope he's okay. But trying to find a new artist. I was actually considering the idea of doing a novella, like a bridge the gap between issue 1 and 2, like a short story. Because short stories are, I decided to go that route way back when instead of doing the novel. The short story is a better place for me as a writer. So I was considering doing a short story to kind of bridge that gap, give a little bit more background info. Because, like you said, at the end of the book, there's a list of the band, but they're all dead. They all died in that. Most of them died in that last battle. So I wanted to kind of bridge the gap, give people something to read while we're waiting for me to sort out this artist thing and get issue 2 up and running. But it's written as a 6-issue limited series.
I know a guy. The art, his style is not quite, the same. It's a little similar, but I know he loves drawing horses. And I saw a couple
horses.
I saw a couple horses in that first issue. So, this guy right here, he won't.
You like doing the black and white?
He won't. He won't go. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
No, don't be throwing my name out there like that.
I get it so much. Well, it's not a bad thing, but I tell you, when I find somebody who does good work, I recommend them for anything that I think that they could do. Like, so Kyron gets it a lot. Wally gets it a lot, and now my guy Rich Brown will get it a lot. So if there's an artist that I really do believe in, that I know will hit deadlines and won't bust you over the head and extort you, I'm definitely going to recommend them to you. So that's one good thing about being my artist, I guess, is that I'm going to be recommending you get other jobs.
Recommendations. Yeah.
I'm going to be trying to give you some more work in between when I can pay you, for sure.
I want to answer a question in the chat. Why don't I like to draw horses? It's because they're hard. They're not humans. Like, you train for so long to draw buildings and humans and action, and then you throw a horse in there, you're like, how do I draw that? That's not a normal thing you see every day. And they're weird shaped. So since we're on the subject of art, you mentioned your book is in a black and white, which is not necessarily unusual for a comic, but definitely fits this genre. What was the reasoning that you wanted to keep it black and white instead of doing color?
It was largely a genre choice. You know, growing up, I was a huge fan of like as I was discovering comics in earnest. I was also reading those magazines, you know, the Savage Sword of Conan and stuff.
Mm.
And they were always in black and white. So it always kind of stuck in my head that fantasy stories of this type should be in black and white. When I got the opportunity to, you know, when I was first getting hooked up with the artist, I said to him kind of casually, like, yeah, when you get this done, we can look at the color palette and do a color test. And he kind of laughed. But I was like, I don't get it. What's funny? He's like, I don't do color. I just do black and white. I thought, well, there it is. There it is. I'm just doing black and white. So there's an element of it to me that I think it gives it kind of gravitas to the story. I just like how it looks. You know, I like seeing books in color, but the aesthetic, you know, the visual is always interesting to me.
I want to see it in color. I ain't gonna lie to you. I want to see. I like.
Yeah, you want to see it in color.
I want to see the goblins and I don't know what creatures those were in the end. The lizard looking.
Yeah.
In the end, like I want to see them in color, but I understand. I do understand for sure. Grayscale is pretty cool too. So
yeah, grayscale is cool. Color's great. Color is great, but grayscale is cool. It's got character.
Absolutely does. So, but you said it's a schedule for six issues.
I have 6 issues written, beginning to end. The story completes at issue 6. Not counting the novella, you know, the bridge novella. But yeah, it's a 6-issue story.
Okay.
I always try to write when I'm writing comics. I always try to write with an end in mind. So, you know, I might be working on issue 1, but my outline is for 8 issues to finish. You know, to finish the arc. So I always try to work in completed arcs, and it was important to me to be able to know where they were going. And what was going to happen to them as I was introducing them to people. I want to know what's going to happen at the end of their story before the beginning of it even begins. And I've always kind of written that way. That's part of my process is, you know, getting to the end. Sometimes you got to work backwards to it or from it. But I wanted to make sure I knew where they were going. That way I can leave little Easter eggs or foreshadow things and that kind of stuff. But it is a complete story, a complete arc.
Specs, just to answer your question in the chat, what about dogs? I like drawing dogs. They're actually easier than horses.
How much easier are they?
Yeah, they're actually a little bit easier. To me, they're easier to draw.
Well,
going back to your
dog, so that's might be a little bias. Might be a little bias there for dogs.
I do love dogs. Going back to your storyline, how you had it planned out, because I've done this sometimes with my artists. When you have something in your head and you know where it's going to go, but then you see the capabilities of your artist and what they like to do, what they shine at. Maybe you start to switch things up or change a little bit of the story to highlight their capabilities. Is that something that you did with? I know you don't have issue 1 right now, but that's something you did at all?
Absolutely. I've done that in this story and other stories. For Black Fist in particular, Tira, the artist, is a very big fan of the genre. He's a really big fan of fantasy. So there were a couple things that I had to slot in. You know, that first meeting with those muggers on the road, the highwaymen, wasn't really supposed to go down that way. They were kind of supposed to just intimidate their way out of it. They were supposed to scare these guys into leaving them alone. Like, hey, do you know who you're messing with? Once I got a taste of what he's able to do, I was like, no, we got to have a rumble here. We got to have a big fight. So let's make this a little bit longer, stretch it out a little, and let them be physical, and let's show people what you can do in that capacity. So yeah, absolutely. I will absolutely be fluid, work around and within what artists can do, because it is a visual medium. Like, in a lot of ways, it's more important. It's as important But in a lot of ways, it's more important that the art be 100% on point to making people want to see more of those visuals. Like, people say it's the art that brings you in, but the story that gets you to stay. So, by all means, let's get that art bringing people in. And one of the things I wanted to showcase was his ability to do that. So yeah, I actually extended that scene a little bit more just to get in, just a little taste of violence. It never hurt anybody. Just a little taste of it.
I'm gonna put some of the artwork that you provided to us on the screen for people to see, just so they can get a visual of how beautiful the artwork is. Since we were talking so much about this, and even though the book is in black and white, I mean, you can clearly tell that these are dark-skinned characters, black characters. I don't want to say African Americans. I don't know if that's part of the lore that you have, but is that a conscious thought? You're like, I want to make sure that the band showcases black people in this light, or
Yes, 100%. 100%. When I was revamping the previous story, what ended up becoming Band of the Black Fist, when I was working on it, there was something going on. What was it? Rings of Power. This Lord of the Rings spinoff or whatever it is. I've never been a huge fan of, I love The Hobbit. I read The Hobbit. I never read Lord of the Rings. I've seen the movies and stuff, but I'm just kind of a casual. But in the midst of all that, when that was building and being promoted, there was a whole lot of fans in that community that had things to say about characters being black or not. I read this entire manifesto this dude wrote about why dwarves couldn't be black, which, needless to say, it was ridiculous because they're fantasy creatures and they can be whatever we want them to be. So it was a 100% conscious decision that in my fantasy setting, the three main characters were going to be black people, full stop, with no remorse at all. Like, yes, they are. And yes, the Band of the Black Fist, like, little nudge, nudge, I get it. But it was all intentional. Yes. We don't get to see a lot of that. Don't get to see a lot of people look like us in that setting. Yes, and I've always been a fan of that setting. I've always been a fan of the high and low fantasy. And just as somebody that's read and looked at a lot of that kind of stuff, it's something that I never saw. I felt like I was doing something brand spanking new. And at this point in the 21st century, like, come on, we're all here doing the same thing. Let's represent ourselves in these stories too. So that's what I decided to do.
Absolutely. I think it's dope, man. Like I said, I enjoyed the first issue. I would have, if number 2 was available, I would have immediately read number 2. I'm looking forward to it, man. So what in the meantime, in the meantime, in between time, like I know you said you were working on novella. Is there anything else that you're planning on putting out until you find an artist for this one?
Yeah, I'm working on a superhero comic right now. We're about 10 pages deep, 12 pages deep. It's called Red September. That will be coming out sometime probably in the winter. The artist I'm working with on that is actually kind of a front runner for Black Fist. I'm really happy with what he's doing. He's a fan of the black and white as well. Okay. But I finally kind of got my head wrapped around, like, I've always loved superhero comics, but everything I've written as a comic until now has been something other, a little historical fiction, a little urban fantasy, this high fantasy. So I wanted to do a superhero story. So I wrote this superhero comic about some superpowered siblings, and it's called Red September, and that will probably be released in the winter, like before. It's coming before the novella, but probably about the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I saw something on the Epiphany engine for something called was it Saint Monday?
Saint Monday. Saint
What's up with
Monday
that?
is one of those siblings in the
Okay.
Red September story. He's the
Okay.
big brother, little sister. They have to kind of work out some of their own interpersonal family issues while solving a mystery.
Oh, awesome.
But
Awesome.
yeah, Saint Monday is the Epiphany engine character. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I think that's another good thing about the Epiphany engine is that you might get your first take. Well, yours will be out before the Epiphany engine will be out, but there are a couple of characters that don't have stories out yet that you'll be getting your first kind of taste of them in the Epiphany engine, which is really cool. That's pretty good launching.
Yeah.
For it.
Yeah.
What are these?
What a cool thing to be a part of, that whole concept. And just, it's been, such a privilege, like watching people work on the Epiphany engine, and just being a part of it is a great thing. I'm super proud.
Chuck, I'm about to be real nosy. What's this large red trophy that you got in the back as a Superman cake wrap? What is this? What is that?
That right there is my AMAA point karate national title.
Nice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My first and last karate tournament, but I won my age group. So they gave me this giant trophy.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks.
Kyron has a yellow belt also.
Oh yeah? And what?
I have belted in Taekwondo. I have gotten a red black belt in that, and then Tong Sudo. I have a
Nice.
green belt in that.
Nice. That's
Many
great.
years ago.
It still counts.
Yeah. I can't do any of it now, but yeah.
Right.
If you stretched for 2
You got to limber up for a little bit first.
sure you could get back into it, Kyron. Yeah.
That's what happens when you get old. Like your body just freezes up when you try to do things.
Yeah.
Your hips start saying no thank you.
Yeah. They don't lie.
No thank you to those kicks.
Right. So I know you spent some time in the military too, right, Chuck?
Yeah, I was in the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard. Okay. I'm not gonna joke on you. I was in the Army for a while. So
Yeah.
the tradition is that I would joke on you, but I everybody that I served with was excellent at their jobs, man. It was even when I was in Iraq and we had to deal with the meatheads, the Marines, and the Air Force. My little brother went into the Air Force, and I was the one who told him to do it. So, I said I was like, Marcus, you don't want to sleep on the floor, and you don't like doing push-ups, so just go to the Air Force. So
Go to the Air Force. Yep.
I think the whole team is important for sure. But thank you for your service, man. And I think it's about time for quick takes, though. Are you ready? Ready, Kyron?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Quick takes. I don't know what happened.
Hey, let me try that again. Let's see.
Do it again. Quick takes. I need to hear it. I need to hear the quick takes at the end. Okay. So
is that better for you?
There we go. I feel better about it. All right, Chuck. So if you've never seen the show before, Quick Takes is a rapid Q&A session that we do with our guests to grill them on their deepest, darkest secrets from the internet. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 5. We're going to have 5 questions. You're going to have 45 seconds each to answer them. And these are just questions to let people get to know you a little better. All right. So following up on my question about you in the Coast Guard, I want to know what kind of things did you learn in the military that you may have applied in comics?
One of the big things I learned in the military was planning your shit out. So if you have something you got to do, don't just get up, get out of bed, start going to work. give yourself a list, like a flow chart. One of the things that I do a lot in writing is I do a ton of outlining. By the time I get to my first draft, it's like the third draft because I've already written it by hand 3 or 4 times prior. So the big thing I carried over from my service days was make yourself a list because you're not going to remember all the steps. Go ahead and write it down. And then that way, at the end of the day, when you feel like you didn't get enough accomplished, you got something you can look at that tells you exactly what you got accomplished.
See, maybe I should have went to the postcard because I didn't learn that. or I probably learned it, but it didn't stick. It didn't stick.
Yeah.
Yo, why is it when you sent me this question, my brain thought you meant like an application to fill out for the military to get into comics? Like,
oh, terrible. See, that's why we actually ask the questions. You don't just put it down there.
Hey, I should just went into the military so I understood things.
Should have gone too. Yeah.
Terrible. Okay. Question number 2. Before we got on here, we were talking about some indie film that we both attended, and I want to know if you were to go into one of these 2 areas independently, knowing the troubles that it is to do them both, which one would you more likely do? Would you go into indie film or would you go into indie animation?
Oh, geez. I can't do both.
No, just one.
Just one. I think I would go into indie film, and that's only because I already have a foot in that world. So I have a little bit of a head start, and like you said, knowing all the trials and tribulations that go with it, I'm just now starting to kind of figure out the lay of the land. So if I went into indie animation, it'd be like starting over again. I'm still learning I've learned to deal with actors and other producers and directors and that kind of thing. So I'd say indie film.
Okay. I like it. And as a follow-up to that question, maybe you'll go in the same direction, maybe you won't. Question 3, what would Chuck Cox be doing in an alternate universe? If there was another you out in another universe that could be doing anything that you wanted, what would you be doing?
In an alternate universe, I would have started writing comics 20 years ago. 20 years ago when I loved comics, 30 years ago when I loved comics, 40 years ago when I loved comics. It never occurred to me that you could make your own comics.
I lived the man's age.
I lived in this world that told me, no, you got to get permission. It's got to be Marvel or DC or it doesn't exist.
Right.
Now that I know that's not true, I wish that I'd been doing it all this time.
Right.
I wish that I had 15, 20 years deep, like a Advent Comics, like a Stranger Comics. I wish I'd learned that lesson a little earlier. But that's what I'd be doing in an alternate universe. More of this.
Absolutely, man. I tell people all the time, like I didn't start reading comics until I was an adult, but I watched every cartoon that was ever created, as a kid. Anything that I could see that was superhero based, I was watching it. And it wasn't until I was an adult and I could go spend my own money and I went to a comic book convention that I saw that there were regular people who made these things.
Right.
And it literally, I can't explain like the way that it transformed my brain to think about creativity like that. And it's just, I feel the same way. I wish I would have known this 40 years ago. I wish I would have been born with the knowledge that I could make things.
You could make your own. Right.
I would have been making them forever. I would have been making stuff all along. So
you don't have to ask permission. You can just make it. You just make one.
Absolutely. Okay. Question number 4. Now, this is one that we ask a lot of creatives when we come on the show. So in 45 seconds, I want to know, in your opinion, what is the best part of creating and what is the worst part of creating?
The best part of creating is that first moment that you get some, lines of text returned to you as a visual piece of art.
Mhm.
That's the coolest thing ever. Because you just wrote some words and now it's turned into this amazing action and motion and artwork. That's my favorite part. My least favorite part, the worst part, is getting the funds together to do all of those things.
Mm.
I'm new to crowdfunding. We're actually getting ready to launch our first Royal House Kickstarter.
Nice.
So we'll see how that goes. But funding is that's a challenge.
Okay. Hey man, let me know when you are headed up for the Kickstarter, man. I'll do my best to help in any way.
I will. Thanks. We got our pre-launch page up in a day or two.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, man. Send me the links and definitely I'll talk to you offline about it for sure.
Excellent.
Okay. So question number 5. We always have our guests do a top 5 list off the top of their heads for the 5th question. And I saw in your bio that you're a bassist, that you play bass.
Yes.
I play drums. I play a little piano, and I can play a little bass also. So I wanted to know, in your opinion, what are your top 5 musical instruments?
Oh, my top 5 instruments. Number 1, bass guitar. Number 2, cello.
Ooh.
Number 3, trumpet.
Oh,
Number 4, got to stay in the rhythm section with the drums. And number 5, it's one of those things you look around enough and everybody you know plays it or knows somebody that plays it or wants to be able to play it, but it's a great instrument to have, and everybody should try to play an acoustic guitar. Just a regular acoustic, not electric, nothing fancy, no frills.
Man.
Just a regular old acoustic guitar. It'll soothe your mind.
Can we talk about the fact that he didn't even take a breath and already had that laid out, the entire top 5? Like, he's already thought of this before in the past.
That's a real man.
That man has dreamed about that top 5.
Hey, you don't put a cello in your top 5 without some thought.
Thank you.
Right. That's because I've been learning it. I've been learning to play the cello.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, man. A good acoustic guitar, man. Well, I can only play one thing on the guitar, but that one thing is enough. Every time I see a guitar,
right, you got to play.
I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna play that one thing I know how to play.
And it's great. It feels great every time. Every time.
Play the guitar on Guitar Hero.
Hey,
I've never tried Guitar Hero. I've heard it's great though.
Man, I wish Activision would bring that game back so fast. I played it when I was in Iraq. Actually, I played the drums in real life. So they were like, "Hey, Danny, get on the drum. Quick, get on the drums." Okay, I'll try it. Man, I loved it so much. I love that game so much for sure. Thanks for doing that. Quick Takes this week is brought to you by Gemini Mailers. Go on GeminiMailSupply.com and use the coupon code AceBlade to get 10% off of your order. Appreciate you doing that for us, Chuck.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, I wish we had more time because there definitely were things we didn't even get to talk about. I mean, we didn't even get to talk about really what Royal House Comics was. We didn't talk about your animation and movie connections. I mean, there was so much we need to have you back at some point in the future. But Agent of Geekdom is going to kick us off in like 10 minutes or so we got to end the show, unfortunately. But we want to make sure people follow up with you and keep up with your work. So where are the best places for people to check you out online?
You can find me on the X, on IG, at It's Only Chuck. And if you want to join my mailing list, I'll send you a free comic. It's itsonlychuck.com. So you can come see me there. See me on all the socials at It's Only Chuck.
And Patreon, right?
And Patreon, yes. Patreon too.
Definitely on Patreon.
All right. Well, Danny, where can people check you out?
Best place to find me right now is on Kickstarter. Aceblade number 8 is live on Kickstarter. Go to fourthwallpros.com/Kickstarter to check it out. Or if you want to find me on social media, it's at the Aceblade on all social media platforms. No, I did not look into Bidwist. We've been playing spades all week. Paige, we've been playing spades all week in this house. Not looking in the bid whist. I'll get there, though. I will get there. Kyron, where can people find you?
You can check me out at tauruscomics.com. I am on all social platforms at Taurus Comics. And if this is the first time you've checked out our podcast, you can go to our website. It is fourtailspodcast.com. That is the number 4, TALES podcast.com. We showcasing. Hold on. We won't wait. Leave it up. Look at that. That's my sketch cover right there going.
Nice.
You're doing a good job, Danny.
I'm working on it. It's like sculpting. I got to keep sculpting.
There you go. That's all it is, man. That's all it is. I'll keep it up. I'm excited to see what you come up with on that. But I do want to give a special shout out today to my son, my oldest son. He is turning 21 this weekend. So happy birthday. I love you, son. Yeah, hope you don't get too stupid. That's what happens when you get 21. But anyways, join us next week. We're gonna have an episode that's all about Ace Blade. Apparently, all about Ace Blade. We're gonna talk about the Kickstarter that's going on and all the great rewards that guy has. And yeah, so join us next week. Hopefully at this time. I don't know. Danny's complaining that this time don't work for him either. So hopefully
it's late. Late.
Hey, Paige, happy birthday to your daughter. So, anyways, until next time, sayonara, goodbye, and everyone, please take care of yourself.
I want to know what it is Quick is trying to say.